Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 41 of Reezy Talks. Can't even believe we've made it this long, 41 episodes, almost like a freaking year. Today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain, Litecoin, Ethereum, all that good stuff. And we are lucky to have our guest, Chris Dunn. How you doing, Chris?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
Dude, I am so hyped to have you on the show. I'm hyped just to talk to you and to get my own questions answered, let alone to get a bunch of these questions from my audience answered. So first off, let's talk about just give us like a quick introduction on yourself, where you come from, where you're at now, what you're up to.
Oh yeah, man. Well, before we even dive into that, I just got to commend you, dude. You are like one of the hardest hustling people that I know, and I love watching your snaps and like all the stuff that you do on social media, man. You're just a killer, and I fucking love it.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. I saw you first, I think, through the feature that you did with Rally Roots.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Roots is my boy, and I can't remember if he's the one that introduced me or if I just found you organically on YouTube. But I'm like, man, and I remember Gary V like giving you some shout outs. So
Yeah.
it's a small world, man, and yeah, it's good to finally connect.
Yeah, awesome, man. No, it is, and everybody's super busy. There's too much opportunity nowadays. Like, if you tell me you're bored nowadays, that's like kind of like telling of your character. I'm like, you're bored. Like, have you
Yeah.
heard of the internet?
Dude, there's just so much opportunity everywhere, and it's so fast changing. It's like every year just gets more and more exciting.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Things that we thought were normal, like money, are changing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going through the biggest shift in our lifetime, dude. Like it's really incredible. And I'm sucking on cough drops and trying to stay hydrated because I'm coming off of a cold. So sorry to
Oh,
everybody if I
did you get
sound
that Christmas
raspy.
tree sickness? Did you get a Christmas tree and then get sick right afterwards?
Something like that. I went to DC to try to fix all of our world's problems and caught a cold over there. So
Yeah, no good. I also just coming off of a cold. Like today's the first day I feel like 90% or so.
nice.
If you guys have a question and you're on the YouTube live video, please put in bold letters, hashtag question. That makes it easier for me to find it. All caps, I mean, not bold. And if you're listening on the podcast or later, you missed it because you could have got your questions answered. So let's get into a little bit of who you are and your backstory, Chris.
Yeah, cool. So I've been obsessed with the financial markets since high school. Like we had this stock trading competition and obviously did horrible in high school, but I've always done really well in economics where I kind of failed every other class. Like I was like a C, D, and F student in everything except like psychology and economics. And I've always been really interested in money, not just as like obviously like we love to have money and what it can do for our lives, but just the concept of money as a social construct, meaning like money is just made up, right? We agree what money is, and money is different things to different people around the world. And whenever I first heard about Bitcoin, I thought it was cool, but I thought it was a scam. That was back in 2011 when one of my hedge fund buddies was like, Chris, you got to check this out. It's Bitcoin. It could change some stuff. And I thought it was just like a pump and dump. And then in 2013, I just went all in. So prior to that, I was trading stocks and futures, day trading full time, all day, every day, stressing myself out like crazy. And I noticed that every year in the stock market, the volatility was just falling and it was becoming harder and harder to make money in the stock market. And so whenever I started trading Bitcoin in 2013, I was like, dude, there's something special here. This is legit. It's not going anywhere. And I mean, it's
What
just
was the
been
price of
insane.
Bitcoin in 2013 when you started getting into it?
It was in the low 100s in the early part of 2013. And then we had that ramp up where it went from like 100 to over 1,000 in about a month in the later part of 2013. I call that the China bubble. That's when the Chinese just went crazy for it.
Right.
And my first video and blog post that I ever did was actually kind of negative about the price. I was kind of warning people that I thought Bitcoin was in a bubble, which it turned out to be. And then in 2014, the price of Bitcoin basically went down the entire year. And I started educating people that you could actually make money shorting it, meaning make money when the price of something falls. And then 2015, it was in the low 200s and we were accumulating it. And then the past 2 years, we've just been in an insane bull market.
And so basically you just started learning everything you could about about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Yeah, man, just geeked out on it.
Awesome. So, are you purely just trading, or are you a long-term believer in Bitcoin? Are you hodling any Bitcoin?
So
If
I
for
I
those
have,
of you, hold on, for those of you that don't know, hodl is an acronym popular with Bitcoin purists, which means hold on for dear life,
yeah.
with the assumption that it's going to be worth, 500,000, a million, 2 million, 5 million a coin in the future, and to ignore the current state of things. So,
Yeah.
are you a hodler?
So the answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. I actually have three strategies. So my first strategy is I have a portion of my Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that I keep on cold storage, meaning I have a hardware wallet. I don't think I have any within arm's reach here, but I have some coins that I just keep on a little USB thumb drive and I put it in a safe or I store it somewhere and I'm never going to touch those coins. I also have like what I call investing or position trading, where I'll hold for anywhere from 6 months to a few years. And so a lot of the coins that I bought in the low 200s a couple years ago, I've been selling this year anywhere in between 5,000 up to, yesterday. And then I also actively trade. So we take a lot of like breakout trades, we buy dips, and we do that actively every day to just grow our capital. And then I'll either put some of that money into long term holdings or invest it into something else.
And something else, you mean like traditional markets or other crypto coins or?
Either other crypto coins. I do a lot of angel investing here in Austin, Texas, with traditional startups. Also, real estate. Hard metals like gold. I have some
Right.
of that, but I'm mostly interested in entrepreneurial stuff. Startups, either new ICOs, new initial coin offerings, or traditional startups. Something that I think is going to really get disrupted over the next few years. I think the old way, the VC model of raising capital is done. And I think the new tokenized model is going to take over the next few years.
It seems legit. I mean, from someone like myself who doesn't really know too much, it seems like mechanically legit at least. There's less humans involved, right?
Yeah.
It's math, right? We can trust math a little more than we can trust some random people. So you said ICO. Can you explain what an ICO is? I mean, we kind of talked about it, but
Yeah. So an initial coin offering is basically a new way of raising capital. Think of like Kickstarter for startups, right? Like where you can basically create your own crypto asset or a token. It could be a currency, or it could be like a token based on Ethereum. And basically, it's just a new way of raising capital. And the cool thing about it is, like the shiny side of it is, you can raise money from anywhere around the world. And in theory, right? In theory, you can do it quicker and with less red tape. Now, this year, the SEC has really started to put out a lot of information saying they're going to crack down on ICOs because there is a shit ton of scams. I would say, I get pitched I have one email that's set up just for like incoming like spam and stuff, and I get about a dozen, maybe 10 to 20 pitches a day from people that are starting ICOs, and they're like, "Hey, can you do a YouTube video or can you like promote our ICO?" And my answer is no. Like, I'm not a paid shill. Like, if you have a good company and you're starting up, I'll actually invest in you. I'll cut you a fat check, but don't, like, I'm not going to sell out to my audience and just like, you know, take a check just to say that you're launching a good project. And I see a lot of that happening, and the SEC is going to really crack down on that over the next year, I think.
okay. So along the same lines of that, you're saying you like to invest in entrepreneurial stuff, but we're talking about ICOs. Are these companies that are building products or services based on blockchain technology, or is this just any type of business that you're interested in?
It could be both. They're mostly blockchain tech.
So
Um,
that's like your wheelhouse, basically,
yeah. Well, so
which
in the ICO
goes along
space,
with believing in the protocol, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, what are some of the big or like companies that you look to that you think are going to win long term that are building infrastructure on blockchain technology, and what are they doing? Like, I just learned about one from my friend Money Don't Sleep, who has a Bitcoin channel on Telegram. he was talking about this company called Presearch, and it's a search engine, decentralized search engine. So think of Google, but not controlled by anybody, just math.
Yeah.
And then also like obviously Steam it, right?
Yeah, there's literally thousands and thousands of these ICOs now. And this is what I'll say. Like, I don't have a crystal ball. And I think where we are right now with cryptocurrencies is kind of like AOL in the early 90s. You remember those CDs we used to get that were like 50 free hours of AOL? Like,
they put them everywhere.
Yeah, it was so cool. And you'd be so excited. You'd log in, you have different chat rooms, right? And it was a real centralized, like really just early days internet. Back then, we didn't know that Facebook was going to be what it is today, or social media, it was going to turn into what it is today, right? It was just kind of like, hey, we know that the internet is something that's going to be really big. It's probably going to touch all areas of our lives. And AOL back then was the king shit, right? Like that was it. But what's AOL today, right? They've just gotten blown out by competition. So it's really hard, I think, to forecast into the future which of these tokens or which of these currencies is going to succeed. Obviously, Bitcoin is the first successful big, big thing to catch on. And so whenever I look at ICO, I really look at three things to determine if it's a good investment or if I believe in it long term. The first thing is obviously the product, right? Like, what are you creating? And there's so many people right now that are just basically throwing up a website, writing a white paper, and promising the moon and saying, hey, we're going to build this crazy, awesome thing. It's going to change the world. And people are sending these people tens or hundreds of millions of dollars with no traction, no product. And to me, that's crazy. Like, I want to see actual development on something before I invest in it. So again, number one is, what is the product? Is it real? Is there tech behind it? Number two is the team. Like, is there actually a real team, or is it some anonymous developers that are just going to take your money and run? And there's been a lot of that that's been happening. And then number three is the community behind it. A good example of a project that we got in super early on is Stratus. We got in last October, so October 2016, below 5 cents. Today it's trading at like $10. And if you just look at the history of what those guys did, they built a real product, they have a kick-ass developer team, and they have a really big community of loyal people that just want to see and help that project succeed. So that's
what
where
is Stratus?
Stratus, if you just go to coinmarketcap.com, right now it is number 19. So it's worth just over $1 billion.
And what is their service? Did you say it was a service, or it's just a new currency?
Yeah, so it's basically blockchain as a service. So if you go on their website, which is stratusplatform.com, I'm on here. Anybody that wants to follow along, they can check this out. Like, they're working with bigger companies, and they have obviously their own token, which is called Strat, trades under STRAT. And basically, yeah, I mean, they're just another blockchain in the sphere of now over 1,000 blockchains. But they're just one that has developed a strong use case. They have great developers, and so they're gaining traction.
What is that use case?
So I'm looking at their website. The top ones: medical research. Basically bringing blockchain to industries that have been really fragmented. Like supply chain management, real estate, medical research, IoT, Internet of Things, fintech, right? So another good one is Factum. They're working with governments to bring property records, right? Which in a lot of third world countries is there's a lot of corruption. You'll have government officials that'll just go in and they'll be like, oh yeah, I own this property. Let me put my name on this deed.
Yeah, you hear about people that you hear about like Americans that own properties in third world countries or whatever, and they maybe don't go to their vacation home for a year or two, and then they get there and it's not theirs anymore.
Yeah, you got squatters or somebody just took it, right?
Right.
And that's that's a really cool use case that Factum's working on. It's just bringing the property records on blockchain. So
just literally just storing information on the blockchain file, like decentralized file storage, public.
Yeah, and it's only amendable, right? Like, you can only add to the blockchain. You can't go back and be like, oh, actually, I bought this property back here. No, it's not on the blockchain. It doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah. There's no lying. There's no trickery.
Yep.
So let's talk about let's say, my grandma just found out what Bitcoin is today, and that's probably true. I don't know. And she wants to get some Bitcoin because, she hears everyone saying it's going to be worth $1 million of Bitcoin, and she wants to invest a portion of her retirement or whatever into it and just see what happens. How would she go about doing that? What's the easiest way to buy it? Where should people be buying it? Where do they store it? How do you store a Bitcoin? Where do you
Yeah.
put it? What's a paper wallet?
So I think the easiest way for people like in the States or um, Coinbase is in a lot of countries now. And I think actually yesterday or the day before, Coinbase was the number one free app in the iOS app store. So
Wow.
yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean that you can link it to your bank account and literally in less than 10 minutes you can buy Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or any of the bigger cap coins.
Is there any downside to using Coinbase?
Um, so there's fees, obviously, but the one thing that I would caution people about is like don't treat an exchange like Coinbase or Bittrex or Poloniex or any of these other exchanges. Don't treat them like a stock brokerage account, right? Like if you have an account with like TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or something like that, you can buy stock and leave your stock online with those people, right? And it's like secured, it's insured. With Bitcoin, if you store your cryptocurrency on coinbase.com in their wallet, you don't actually own those coins. They're just showing you a credit like, hey, we know you own these and we're showing you a credit for this. You don't actually control your Bitcoin unless you have the private keys. And if they're on an exchange, like Bitfinex got hacked for last year, like 60 or 70 million bucks. Exchanges get hacked all the time. There have been scams where exchanges will just say, you know what, we don't want to do business anymore. We're going to take everybody's cryptocurrencies and they disappear off the face of the earth. So I think Coinbase is different. They have some really big VC backing, venture capital backing here in the States. They're insured and all this stuff. So I don't think that's going to happen with them. But again, the most secure way to store your coins is on a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Ledger where you actually control the private key.
What does something like that cost?
Like I think they're 50 or $100, something like that.
And do they have batteries? They run long term, or what's the deal? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's just like I don't think I have any sitting next to me, but it's a little USB drive that you plug into your computer and then software program pops up and you can send and receive from there. And the cool thing is this is where things get really interesting. So there's some legislation that's trying to be passed right now that says it's illegal to hide your cryptocurrency from the government, or you have to disclose what you own. But we are literally redefining what ownership means, because let's say you lose that hard drive. Let's say you have $10 million on there and you lose it. Well, you can have a 12 or a 24 word backup code, just like 12 random words out of the dictionary, like book and desk and car. And if you remember those words in a specific sequence, you can always get another ledger, plug that backup code, and you can restore your access to those coins. So check this out. Let's say you're in a repressive government. Maybe you're in China where they have a lot of capital controls and they don't allow you to leave the country with a lot of money. Well, let's say you get on a plane, you come to America, you buy a ledger, you remember those 12 words. Let's say you have $1 billion. Say you're one of these big government, corrupt guys. You have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. You back it up in the US, you just moved $1 billion internationally without anybody knowing.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and no fees.
And no fees. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Someone was talking about an exchange called GDAX. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So GDAX is owned by Coinbase. It's a much better place actually to buy and sell because the fees are a fraction of what they are if you just buy through Coinbase. And it's the same login. So if you have a Coinbase account, I can't remember if you have to apply separately, but basically it's the same login. and it just looks more like a professional trader's stock platform, where you have the order book, you have level 2 with, bid and ask orders, and you have the time and sale. So it's just a faster way to get executions.
What's the reason why there's less fees on that side of it?
They just encourage more active trading. So like, think of like Bitcoin or Coinbase is kind of like your PayPal. And then this isn't a great analogy, but like GDAX would be like your Fidelity account or something where, you log in and you're actively buying and selling.
Okay. So it's just a little bit more professional.
Yeah.
Awesome. So and what about paper wallets?
Yeah, that's cool too. You can, if you control your public and your private key, you can memorize it, which is hard as hell to do. It's a 30 something word random code. Or you can write it down on paper. I know some people that have like stamped it into metal, or some people have even created like gold and silver coins and then put their private and public keys on there. So as long as you remember or have access to those, think of your public key as like your email address and your private key as your password.
Okay. And so for those people that don't know what a paper wallet is, can we explain that real quick, just because it's like a free version of a hardware wallet?
Yeah, I mean, a paper wallet is literally what it sounds like. It's a piece of paper where you write down your public and your private keys. And there's websites that you can go and they randomly generate addresses that you can send it to and then print it out. But that's not really secure.
And why is that?
If somebody's sniffing your printer, or if you download it from a site that's corrupt, I just think hardware wallets are by far the most secure way to store crypto.
Right. So that's why when people talk about making paper wallets, they talk about, I got a new laptop just for this, or I boot from a CD when I make my paper wallets, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because I actually had it's a sad story, but I had 10 Bitcoins when they were $350 a coin, and I had them in a paper wallet. I just did my research, I figured it out, I generated a paper wallet, I bought 10 Bitcoins, I put them in my paper wallet. I made a couple copies of it, and I put them in safety deposit at my bank. I bought a year of a safety deposit, and then the price went to about 700 and something, like in like 3 or 4 days. So I went back to the bank and I got the paper wallet out, and then I sold my coins, and it went down a little bit. So I sold them for $675, which I thought was great at the time.
Yeah.
Little did I know it was going to be $16,000-$17,000 a coin just a year later.
Well, dude, that's the thing. Like, hindsight's always 2020, right? So,
right.
My motto is like, never go all out, never sell all your crypto, because you never know.
Right. So what are some of your favorite or exchanges that people should be using to buy and sell Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies?
So it depends on where you are. Like, this is a global thing, right? So there's I imagine like most of your viewers are what, US based?
Yeah, probably 90% US based.
True. All right. So in the US, and here's what I would just suggest. So if you're going to trade any crypto, what you want to do is go to the exchange that has the most liquidity, meaning the most trading volume. Like, if you go to an exchange that trades, say, $10,000 a day worth of Bitcoin, you don't want to trade there. You want to go to where the most amount of money is flowing. So if you go to coinmarketcap.com and then click on whatever coin you're interested in, and then go to the markets tab, you can see listed by the amount of volume that's being traded, and just go to those websites and see if they allow customers in your area. Even in the US, like, because of some crony capitalism, like, a lot of exchanges don't do business in the state of New York or Hawaii. And I think there's a couple other places, but for the most part, like Coinbase, Bittrex, Poloniex, those are kind of the main, Gemini, those are kind of the main exchanges right now.
Nice. So I'm just going to ask you some questions that other people have asked me to ask you.
Sure.
So if some of them are a little weird, don't worry about that. Just feel them play it as it lies. Someone wants to know what is the next Bitcoin?
What do you mean? Like the next big coin?
I'm assuming that's what they mean. What's the next Bitcoin? The next meaning like what's the next? I'm assuming that they mean like what's the next coin that's gonna like rise up like a ton to where they could get it really cheap right now and
Yeah.
just be Jesus for a second, be the
Yeah.
Bitcoin Jesus.
I'm definitely not that guy. So that's the problem right now is a lot of stuff is expensive. One thing that just popped off recently that was really cheap is Litecoin. We have that. I'm a fan of the Ethereums. So there's two Ethereums. There's Ethereum ETH and there's Ethereum Classic ETC. I'm watching, so I'll tell you what I'm watching. And these aren't exactly super cheap coins right now, but ones that I'm watching for a breakout are Ripple, XRP, Stratus, STRAT. We're testing the all-time high on USD value. So this is where things get kind of a little confusing. If you're looking at a chart of a coin compared to the price of Bitcoin, that's one thing. But you want to look at a chart where you're comparing the price of, say, Stratus or Ethereum or whatever to US dollars, because that'll show you the true value of that coin. Okay. So a lot of charts right now on altcoins look really beat, meaning they look really bad, but on a dollar value basis, they're actually really high. So like Ethereum right now, let me just check. ETH.
What software or websites do you recommend for people to use to track different cryptos, to look at charts, to put lines up and do all that
Yeah.
fancy trader stuff?
Good question. Coinigy. So coin, COINIGY.com.
Coinigy. Is
Yeah.
that free?
No, it's like 15 or 20 bucks a month. But what I like about them is they aggregate pretty much all of the exchanges and all of the coin pairs, all the currency pairs in one place. Another one is Trading View. I used to use that a couple years ago, and I know they have a lot of the currency pairs, but I don't think they have as many. And they have a freemium model, so free or paid. Or you can use, if you just want to look at like a really, really basic chart, just go to Coin Market Cap. But for the best charts, I really like Coinigy.
So like I watched a couple of your videos, and is that what you're using Coinigy when you're tracing charts and drawing bars around them and
Yeah.
boxes and stuff?
Yep.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so to finish that question, again, like there's not a lot of cheap stuff right now, but ones that I like are Ethereum, Ripple, XRP, and Dash. I mean, Dash was great. We got in that at like $5 last year. That's trading at 750 bucks. So we're in a boom cycle right now. And every day, like this space is moving so fast and there's new coins coming out every day. Like we have a community of several thousand traders, and like we literally are just chasing every day, reading and reading and reading, trying to keep up with what the next projects are. So thankfully I have a partner that's smarter than me in some areas, especially on like the due diligence side, looking at some new ICOs and stuff like that. So as soon as we know about new projects that we really like, we kind of roll that out to all of our students.
Awesome. What do
Yeah.
you think about Neo?
Neo's cool. It's like the Chinese Ethereum. See where it's sitting at. China has come out and basically said several times, we're going to ban Bitcoin. No, never mind. We're going to regulate it. No, never mind. We're going to ban it. And I don't really understand how the Chinese government works, but from what I've heard from people that are over there, they're kind of like, no, this is business as usual for China. So Neo's cool. I actually don't own any of it today. I'm watching it.
So here's a good question. Someone wanted to know is the analysis on trading coins anything like technical analysis on Forex markets? Is there a candlestick chart to follow?
Yeah. So technical analysis is funny because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It works because people look at it, right? And I tend to keep TA really simple. You can spend decades of your life reading books and like learning theory and studying indicators. And there's a lot of stuff that works in hindsight. But when it comes to trading, the most important thing is human psychology and understanding why a market is doing what it's doing. And so whenever I do YouTube videos, I try to kind of relate that, right? I use simple technical analysis, but I talk about like why the market's doing what it's doing. Like in January of this year, China, came out with some negative news. They're like, we're going to ban Bitcoin. And then the price crashed from like, I think 1,000 down to 700. And I did a video like, guys, don't freak out. Like, this is what's happening. This is what the chart says, but this is what the mass human psychology behind the price action is. I think that's more important. So the short answer, yes, all the price patterns that you can read in a book that work in Forex, work in crypto. But the bigger picture is what is really the most important thing.
Right. So, could you relate that mentality to the Bitcoin chart and the current thing? So, for example, my business partner is a day trader.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to convince him to let's invest some of the company money in Bitcoin. And every time I tell him to look at it, he's like, it's overextended. It's going to crash. And it doesn't seem to matter what the price is, if it's 3,500 or 9,900 or 13,000 or 16 or 18 or it doesn't matter because, can you explain like his thinking maybe? Is it just like from a traditional market? Like if this was a traditional market or a stock, you would have expected it to crash a long time ago, or what is the thing? Because I believe in it long term because I see it as the internet of money and like things just changing, and being the future. And so when I look at it, I kind of think, even though I'm not technically like knowledgeable about stock trading and stuff, I kind of think that like, okay, yeah, what goes up has to come down at some point, but maybe it's just going to go up a lot more before it really comes down. Maybe some people are thinking, oh, it's 19,000. It's going to crash to 6,000 any day now. And maybe it's going to go to 150 and then crash to 40 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with your partner. He's right to think that it's overextended. I mean, that was my thought in 2013 when it went from 100 to 1,000. I'm like, holy shit, this has to pull back. And so, and it did for a whole year, it pulled back. And so we're up over 2,000% this year. And we're kind of in the mania phase. And like, I'm with you. Like, I believe in Bitcoin long term, but I'm a realist and the market moves in cycles. So, but that's also why I don't try to pick tops, because the market and trends can exceed what seems rational because people aren't rational, right? Like, I'm getting messages from people that I haven't talked to since high school going, oh, Chris, dude, you're like the Bitcoin guy now. Like, hey, should I buy? Like, so that type of mentality is happening. It happened in real estate, happened with gold in 2011. So yeah, I mean, I think we're overbought, but that's why I don't try to pick tops, because I thought Bitcoin was expensive at 5,000, then 7,500, then 10,000. Here we are today at 17,000. So you never know where the top of a market is. So here's my strategy. And again, I'm not like a financial advisor. This isn't advice to anybody.
Yeah, I put a nice fat disclaimer in the description.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. So when the price is expensive, which is a subjective term, right? But when it's high, when it's up 2,000% a year, what do you do if you don't own any? Well, you have to learn about risk management. And if your partner's a trader, he understands, stops and risk management and breakout trades and setting profit targets. Like, that's what I think people should learn to do if they're going to get into it. They should understand position sizing. They should understand how to minimize their risk as much as possible and maximize their reward. And there's a learning curve to that, right? But it can pay massive, trust me, massive dividends if you learn how to do it the right way.
Okay, so someone was asking about trading, like swing trading smaller crypto coins as a way to build up and accumulate Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Is this something that you recommend?
Yeah. I mean, we did that with Stratus. So, we got into Stratus in between like 3 and 5 cents last October. And I sold way too soon. I actually left over $1 million on the table. We were selling a bulk of our position in the $2 to $3 range. And it actually topped out at like 11.50. So I'm still holding some, but yeah, I mean, if you find coins, good projects early on when they're in the accumulation phase, meaning when they're quiet, when they haven't hit the hype yet, the hype cycle or mainstream, and you can just scale in. You can take a little bit of money, and if it goes up 2, 3, 4,000%, yeah, that's going to grow your account very, very quickly. But I would caution you, anybody that's doing that, be prepared to lose 100% of that investment. Kind of think of it, because this is what it is. It's startup investing. So let's say you have $10,000 and you're like, I want to take $10,000 and I want to invest it in cheap coins. Well, don't just go out there and like throw it at whatever is the hottest trending topic coins at that time. Do some due diligence, do some research, find the coins that you think are undervalued and nobody's really talking about, that has those 3 criteria, that has a solid team, that has a good project, and has a good backing of at least a small community. And if you can get in and be patient, if let's say you put $1,000 into 10 projects and 9 of them go bust, but you get 100x on one of those projects, make 100 grand, you lose 9, you're still net positive over 90 grand.
Right. Definitely. So let's talk about some of the most important cryptocurrencies in the game as far as long-term plays. Like, you can make a lot of money, and correct me anytime I say anything that's totally bullshit, because I'm likely to. But as far as I know, you can make a lot of money on some of these shit coins, but they're definitely gonna go to zero at some point.
Yeah.
I see Bitcoin as being around for a long, long time, if not like the #1 player forever. What are some of the other coins that are like the top players that you see having a long-term lifespan in this space?
Well, I think Ethereum's got some long life in it, because there's so many projects that are using the ERC20 tokens, basically using the Ethereum world computer to build dApps, decentralized apps, which are apps that can't be shut down by a government, can't be muted. So I think that's a huge use case.
So they're actually storing their code on the blockchain, or how does that work? Or they're reading and writing to it as a database, or
So let me preface this with, I'm not a coder, and I sound like a complete fool whenever I try to talk from a technical standpoint. So just, the way that it works is you have people that are building applications that work on the Ethereum blockchain, and they build on top, right? They're decentralized apps that work with that. And I saw somebody commenting about like CryptoKitties and stuff like that. Like that works with Ethereum.
okay. So Ethereum, what else? Maybe Litecoin?
Yeah, Litecoin's cool. It basically solves some of or tries to solve some of the problems that Bitcoin's had. Right now, this year there's been a huge civil war between like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and I'm not going to get political or dive into that, because that's a whole just pit in and of its own. But there's a segment of people that say Bitcoin Cash is more valuable, and that's going to be the one that wins. And there's, I think, more people that are saying no, Bitcoin is the true Bitcoin. So you have that fight that's going on, which is interesting.
So who's running Bitcoin Cash?
Well, so the face behind it is Roger Ver. He is one of the early Bitcoin guys, and apparently he had like, I don't know, 200,000 or 300,000 Bitcoins, and apparently he sold most or all of them for Bitcoin Cash. So what happened though is this year Bitcoin forked. Basically, it split into Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and if you owned Bitcoin at the time of the fork, you got credited an equal amount of Bitcoin Cash tokens, which is cool. It was free money. It's worth $1,500 or so today. So I've only recently started selling a bunch of Bitcoin Cash, and that was free money. It was an airdrop. So that's another kind of benefit of crypto, is if you get a fork, there's opportunity for free money.
Right. So, but is Bitcoin Cash fully decentralized or no?
So again, I'm not technical. I'm not going to talk about mining because I'm not a miner and I've never done it.
Right.
But the argument there is it's a more centralized way to mine, and there is dramatically less control and there's more risk of a few bad actors being able to dramatically influence the direction of Bitcoin Cash.
It all has like larger block size or something, so transactions are faster.
Yeah, the USP behind it is lower fees, faster transactions. That's what they're going for.
Okay, cool. But
Yeah.
might not necessarily be so important with Bitcoin because at least from my perspective, I don't see Bitcoin as being the like daily what we use to buy a coffee. I see it as being like the bar of gold that we chip off little pieces of it and then maybe like Ethereum or Litecoin will be our coffee money or something like that.
Exactly, man. I think the future of what the world looks like is a multi-coin universe where we do have coins that serve different purposes. And yeah, you hit it on the money, man. Like Bitcoin is like gold. It's a store of value. It's a wealth storage device or system where, Dash or Monero or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash, like some of these other ones might serve as a better daily use for coffee and stuff of lower value.
Cool. Bitcoin Cash, sorry to keep going on it. You said you didn't want to talk about it too much, but Bitcoin Cash is getting added to Coinbase, or is that just in the talks?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, what do you expect that to do to Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin?
Well, I think Roger was on CNBC today shilling Bitcoin Cash. So the chart actually looks pretty bullish, man. That's why I haven't sold it all.
Can you
And
actually show us? Can you screen share your screen and show us
and I
what a bullish chart looks like? Maybe
yeah, let's see.
give us. And then another sub question of that is, what type of resources do you suggest for people to learn how to read charts and do that kind of stuff?
Well, so I have a free Bitcoin basics course. And we also have a full like 60-day boot camp if somebody wants to go through and really learn everything there is to know about this stuff. Or, I do YouTube videos or any kind of off the shelf basic technical analysis book is a good way to start.
So just go through your videos and you have videos about how to read charts and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can you guys see my chart? Is that working?
Yes, we can.
Sweet. So let's just start by talking about BTC. So if we look at Bitcoin USD, you can see here's the beginning of the year right here. And we were at, the lowest price was about 750 or so. And so from the low of the year to where we are right now, we're up about 2,200%. So just been a meteoric rise. Bitcoin Cash, that compared to USD, you can see whenever they did the airdrop, it was initially worth, at least on Bitfinex, the exchange Bitfinex, which no longer wants US customers, by the way. But it started about $400 or $500, dipped down, found support here in the $200 or $300 range. And so you can see it's holding up quite well. So you had a run retracement. So you've got a lot of support here at 1200. So that's what I mean by bullish is the bull trend is intact. It's not as strong as Bitcoin, but at least right now it's holding above support and turned prior resistance into support. So that's why I'm still holding part of this.
Right, because it hasn't shown a lower low yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just consolidating right here. And again, there could be manipulation. There's a lot of emotion behind this whole debate. So I just try to stay focused on the chart because a lot of the times you can actually see the story in the chart. And there's a lot of noise on social media around crypto. If you go on Twitter, I mean, it's just a cesspool of just fighting and bullshit. So I just try to stay focused on what actually matters.
Speaking about stuff that matters, I heard about something that seemed too good to be true. And even though I don't know a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, my spidey sense was tingling, and it was tingling with senses of Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, and scam. And
Yeah.
that was BitConnect. Can
Oh
you
God.
explain that to us and why we should or shouldn't get involved with it?
Yeah. Let me just say this. So if there's anybody in BitConnect, I'm sorry. Yes, any financial MLM, any downline pyramid scheme, period. At least anything that I've ever seen in the past 15 years of being involved in financial markets, anything that smells like a network marketing scheme is in the financial realm is 100% guaranteed to be a Ponzi scheme. BitConnect, yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of people that have outed that and have been, showing what's happening behind that. There's so many of these. Like in 2015, there was one like MMM. It was huge in Africa and Asia. What's the other one? USI Tech or something. Like, just run for the hills away from
So
that
what
crap.
are they actually doing? Because I know like people that I actually trust that
Yeah.
are they must I mean they wouldn't lie to me, so they must be getting duped.
Yeah.
But they say they're making money, and so I mean obviously I
Oh
mean
yeah.
people made money with Bernie Madoff, just not the last handful of people.
Yep. The BitConnect scam is going to work until Bitcoin crashes. And there will be a bear market in Bitcoin. I don't know where the top is, but it's going to happen where we're going to have a pullback. It might last for a week, might last for a year or longer. I don't know, but that's where Ponzi schemes unravel, right? That's where Madoff unraveled. That's where like when the market is going up and new money is coming into the market, the scam works. And because everybody's making money and there's new money. But the second that they can't sustain the payouts, it ends like that.
Right. Several people have hit me up, and it's like I have an audience, and I'm sure you have an audience too. And like you said, I'm not a shill. You can't just like ask me, I'll give you a free watch if you make a video about my Jord wooden watches. Like, no, I'm not gonna make a video about your stupid watch,
Yeah.
Um, but and I could make a bootload of money if I went on BitConnect, and because maybe I did actually make some money, and then I turned around and shared it with my followers. And because it's a multi-level thing, it's where like I don't just make money. You don't just make money if people sign up under you. You make money for people that sign up under people that signed up under you, and
Yeah.
so on and to infinity, which to me is just like, what? Like, how is this possible, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear you say that it's really a scam, and it's gonna
100%.
come crashing down. You said people have exposed it. What kind of stuff has been like
Um,
posted about it?
yeah, if you go on Steam it, there people have written articles about it, and there's even
Let's
some.
talk about Steam It real quick.
Yeah.
What is Steam It?
So steamit.com is they're basically trying to do a decentralized Reddit, um, where you can actually get paid for contributing. Now the economics of how they released the Steam tokens was kind of messed up, like the supply. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but if you look at a chart of Steemit, you'll see that it, compared to Bitcoin, at least, it's been destroyed over the past couple of years. I think the idea of Steemit and the product of Steemit is really cool. I don't own any Steam tokens, by the way, and I tend to just post on YouTube. But I think it's a good use case for how a decentralized product can work. But yeah,
So
there's
basically, it's decentralized social media kind of, but more into the style of a Reddit um, ecosystem, which explains why I haven't been able to gain any traction on Steemit, because I also have zero traction on Reddit. So
yeah. I mean, it's highly competitive now. Like you used to be able to make like thousands of dollars in their tokens just by posting in the early days. And if I look at their traffic data, they're getting, says 19 million hits a month now. So
nice.
it's a real thing, you know.
Yeah, so you can buy Steam coin, right? Is it Steam coin or
Steam
is it
tokens. Yeah.
Steam tokens? And that's different than Steemit, or
So steamit.com is their website. And
right?
then the token or the currency behind it is Steam. And
And
there's
then
two things.
there's
There's
something
Steam.
called like Steam Power and Steemit.
Yeah. There's Steam dollars, Steam power. Like it's
Is
kind of
that like
split.
fractionalized pieces of it or something?
Yeah, it's like if you post something, you get some now, and then some of it's locked up. I haven't paid attention to the tokenized side of it in a long time, so I'm not even sure how it works.
Okay, so but basically you can make money if people upvote your posts, because to upvote a post it costs, let's say it's like 5 cents in Steemit coin or whatever.
Yeah.
And I believe So then you make some steam, you upvote somebody's post, you give some back, you can buy some to flush up your account so you can upvote more stuff, or people are also just buying the coins because they believe it's going to go up in value long term.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can, you can get paid for posting and commenting. And the incentive, the incentivization process is meant to like kind of weed out trolls and let the cream rise to the top. That's what I like about Reddit is like, it's really easy to find the good stuff because of upvotes, and it kind of works the same way. But if I share my screen again, I'll show you like just taking a look at the homepage. And if we just look for BitConnect, you can see the first couple of things here are like the BitConnect scam exposed, scam debate, so there's some people that try to be like non-biased about it, but I mean, it's clearly a scam.
Yeah, I like that we're reading about that on a decentralized social media platform based on blockchain technology.
Yeah.
What's cool about Steam, I don't know if you can delete a post once you make it or not. I think it's stuck forever, like it's part of the blockchain. I learned the hard way because I made an account and then it was like, oh, make sure you save your keys and everything for your account. And I was like, whatever, I'll screenshot this and I'll save it later. And then I switched phones and then I never
Yeah.
got that screenshot. And I could still log in on my phone, but not on my computer. And I couldn't change any of my profile stuff because it wanted me to put my password in again. And so I actually had to just abandon that account. So it's like, Steam it /Reezy Resells is gone forever. I can't get it back.
Yeah. There's several of like these security things that still need to be worked out. Another big problem right now is like the KYC, like verifying identity with exchanges, and two-factor authentication, which everybody should have, by the way. And there's a startup called Civic. The token is CVC. Vinny Lingham is the creator of that one. I think that's one that's actually the price has been beat recently, but I think has really good long-term potential. So that's
What is that one all about?
So here I'll pull up the website. Basically a way to verify your identity. Let's see if I can pull this up.
Oh, that makes sense. Is that the abbreviation for your credit card security number, CVC or something?
Yeah. So you guys can read, but I think this is a pretty cool one. It's a secure ID. So basically you verify your identity one time. And apparently, and I actually haven't used this yet. I mean, I signed up and like did some due diligence on it, but like e-signatures for medical stuff, social logins. So that I think maybe this could be the next level of two-factor authentication. That's just a
Nice.
pretty interesting one.
2FA using blockchain technology
Yeah, dude.
and private keys, right? Which makes sense because that whole thing already involves QR codes anyways.
Yep. So
If you don't understand that, QR code is used a lot by cryptocurrency stuff for your private key or your public key, because obviously you can put all the numbers for your account into a nice little picture that someone can scan with another app, and you don't have to type in all those numbers. So that's what people are using those QR codes for.
yeah.
Man, I have so many random questions that
Let's knock them out.
let's do this. So someone was asking about Toshi browser. Do you know what that is?
No, I haven't heard of that yet.
Okay, so we'll pass on that one. You already talked about the good hardware wallets. What about some software wallets? Is there such a thing?
Yes, you can download just the regular Bitcoin Core wallet. If you're going to use hardware wallets, yeah, I mean, use a computer that you only use for crypto stuff. And use a VPN, like private internet access, stuff like that. Yeah, I think the best way, if you're serious about crypto or if you have a significant amount, just get a hardware wallet.
Right. Okay. What is a good app for iOS or for Android, like to monitor your public address?
Say that one more time.
And again, I could be saying stuff that makes no sense, but is there an app that you recommend for monitoring, like not necessarily, not having your private key, but your public key? So you can look at it and see how much you have, and then also share it with people easily to put more monies in it.
Yeah, so there are several like mobile wallets, like Jax, JAXX. That's one. Coinbase has obviously an app. Blockchain.info, Bread, Mycelium. If you just type Bitcoin into like the App Store, you'll see some. But again, anytime you're using a third party software or a third party service, that's counterparty risk, right? So unless you actually control your private key, that's the one thing. If you're ever confused, if like, is this secure or not? The first question should be, do I control my private key? If the answer is yes, cool. If not, you've got additional risk there.
Right. So you could use a lot of those without putting your private key in, right? Which means you can't actually send money. You could only receive money.
Well, all wallets you can both send and receive. Yeah.
But could you use some of those without putting your private key in, then just to monitor your balance?
Um, yeah, I mean, you could use it to where you never, I guess, give out your public key where people never send you money to that address. Yeah, but
I don't know.
I,
I
I
think I'm
mean,
being stupid.
no, that's cool.
So hey, let's talk about crypto kitties. What is a crypto kitty, and why are some of them selling for $100,000 USD?
Okay, so I've been sick for the past like 10 days. So
So you missed the whole crypto kitty craze.
Unfortunately, I'm having crypto kitty FOMO right now. No, so I guess it's kind of the new Beanie Babies of crypto is the best way that I look at it. I mean, it's cool. It's a new use case. Let's put it that way. I haven't dove into that yet though.
So these crypto kitty, you haven't done any research at all, so pretty pointless to ask you questions.
My partner knows all about it, but yeah,
Okay.
no, I haven't dove into this yet.
Yeah,
Crypto.
but apparently it's a digital cat that you can buy that's generated by a company and stored on the blockchain,
Yep.
Ethereum, I believe.
Yep.
And they're all different, and then you can breed one with another to make a new one, which is more different. And I guess the more different they are, the more valuable they are. I have no idea what the initial cost is, but for some reason, some of them went for $100,000 recently, which is super crazy. But who
Yeah.
knows? It's a future
Yeah.
of cryptocurrency, kitties. Maybe we'll be buying houses with crypto kitties in the future. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just picked me up a new house over here for 3.6 crypto kitties.
Start selling them on Amazon, man. Picking crypto kitties up at auctions and garage sales.
Yeah, if you get tired of your crypto kitty, I'll accept it. I'll start a crypto kitty pound.
There you go. Talking about browsers, I saw some people commenting about Toshi. Another one to check out is the Brave browser. They came out with their own token, Basic Attention Token (BAT). That's a pretty interesting one to check out.
Toshi is I'm just reading the comments real quick. Zenflips says Toshi is a browser entirely based on Ethereum network with international payments, end-to-end encrypted chat apps, and more. It's the browser offering the CryptoKitty. Okay,
Cool.
so that makes sense. Someone made a joke and said, there's hash puppies coming on Neo first quarter 2018. If you don't know why that's funny, you're probably not older than 20, but there's an old toy called Hush Puppies. Super popular little stuffed animal. You would buy it and it would like have, you don't know how many babies would be inside of it. It'd be like one baby, two baby. I think it's like a pound puppy type deal.
Yep.
Oh, it's real apparently. Um, so we covered We covered some BitConnect scamness. Do you know about Vertcoin?
Yeah, Vert's another one. The crazy thing is, man, is like every week there's literally like dozens of coins that are coming out right now. So we could spend probably the next 8 to 10 hours just going through each one of these. But Vert's one that's recently just gone crazy. It was, let's see, in the beginning of the year, let's see, it was trading at 35
It
cents.
went vertical
Yeah, Vert went vertical. It's trading up around $10 right now.
from
So
35 cents to $10.
yeah,
It's
actually it was
crazy,
10
man.
cents.
The returns that these cryptocurrencies are offering, whether like regardless of their long-term nature or whatever, it's just so much larger than what you would see in a traditional market, you know? Like
Oh yeah, dude.
you're in a
So
traditional market, you're like psyched on like a 10% gain. That's like a savage day, you know what I mean? Like
oh man, I mean, most stock market traders or investors, passive investors, are happy if they make 10% a year, right? That's why like the Nasdaq and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and even like Swiss banks are now launching futures markets on Bitcoin because the institutional guys wanted to get in on it. And I day traded for so many years, and it was like so stressful, and you had to fight to make money. Where with like crypto, it's kind of my motto is like trade less, profit more. Like I've made more money in 1 month on one trade than I would make in a year day trading all day, every day. It's ridiculous.
so you are day trading cryptocurrencies though, yes?
No. So
No.
I typically swing trade crypto. So
Can we
meaning
explain the difference between day trade? I think most people know what day trading means, but I think most people don't know what swing trading means.
yeah, so day trading is when you buy or sell an asset in the span of one day, right? And my first experience with day trading was in the late 90s. I had a mentor that would like, that he was like one of the first like digital or electronic day traders when the feeds actually were affordable and realistic to get at your house. And he was like scalping stocks. He would take thousands of trades a day and buy and sell and make, a quarter here or half a point there. And he made a six-figure income doing that. And then I started trading futures and stocks in 2002, somewhere around there. And that's when the markets were still primarily like human based. Like it was mostly people trading back and forth. And if you watch Wall Street or like any, old Wall Street movie where you see the trading pits, people screaming at each other, like buying and selling, that actually is dead today because most trading, if not all trading, is electronic. And I believe like the number changes, but about half of stock market trading activity is done by computers now. It's not even done by people. So like over the past like 10 years, I saw the market go from something that you could actually make a living day trading to where the volatility, meaning the intraday movement, was shrinking so much that you had to fight to even like survive. And so that's why like I went all in on Bitcoin in 13 because the volatility, when you have a market that's moving like 50% or sometimes several hundred percentage points in a day, like you don't have to day trade. You can sit on it for a couple days or a couple weeks. And that's what swing trading is. So swing trading is like holding a position for like days to weeks. And then position trading is like months to years.
Okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
You were talking about shorting Bitcoin.
Yep.
How can someone short Bitcoin? What platforms offer that?
So most exchanges try to offer it. When I say try, like the biggest pain in the ass with crypto is the lack of just usefulness of these exchanges. Like it's so much easier to day trade stocks and futures from an execution standpoint because the infrastructure is there, right? With crypto, this stuff is so new that anytime there's like big volatility, like Coinbase goes down or Bitfinex goes down. Like for anybody that was buying or like watching the price of Bitcoin over the past couple of weeks, you may have noticed like the big volatile days, you would go to like log into Coinbase and it would say, sorry, our servers are overloaded, or, so, so going back to the shorting question, you can short through exchanges. And that's why I'm actually excited about the futures that are coming out for Bitcoin, because I think that's going to just add to the availability and the realistic availability of being able to short crypto for people in the US.
And do you generally, what do you think is more profitable short term? Um, Holding like long positions or shorting?
It depends on the market environment, right? Like people that just bought Bitcoin and held it made 2000% this year, right?
Right.
So we did that and traded. So like we had a portion of our coins that were cold storage or long-term investment. We were stacking as much as we could in 2015. And then obviously that's appreciated. We've sold some of that. But trading, like think of it like say you put half of it into long-term buys, and then the other half you like buy a breakout, you make 50%, you close that, you have more USD to trade. So the next time you do it with bigger position size. So all of a sudden your fiat currency or your dollars or whatever your government currency value is rising, and you're going, oh man, this account's growing in value, while simultaneously growing your Bitcoin and your other crypto holdings. So I just think, right now we've been in a bull market where those strategies have been working really well for a couple of years. Let's say, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what if 2018 is like 2014 where it goes down all year? Well, then obviously buying high and holding is going to give you a negative return, where if you learn how to short, you can actually make money and grow your USD value while the market's going down. And then when it bottoms out, all of a sudden you have all this extra cash that you can reinvest for long term for the next bull cycle.
Makes sense. My business partner, I think the main way, he's a day trader, but I think primarily he shorts stocks. That's how he makes money most of the time.
Cool.
And when I talk to him about Bitcoin, all he wants to do is just short it.
Hey man, I mean, I'm the same way. Whenever I look at a market that's up 2000%, the reasonable thing to think is, holy shit, let's short this sucker. But Bitcoin is a new asset class of itself. Like, obviously the joke is like every time there's a bubble, everybody goes, oh, this time is different, this isn't going to pop. But that's never worked in the history of humanity. So
Right. But what if it's not a bubble? It's just like it's the Bitcoin stabilizing. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
it's funny for me to tell you, you know what I mean? Because obviously you know a lot more than I do. But I heard someone, I was doing some research before this interview and before I purchased recently. And someone was saying, well, like, look at it like this way. What if you thought of Bitcoin as if it was gold, which is kind of funny because you have to mine gold and you have to mine Bitcoin. And they were like, well, what if you knew there was only 21 ounces of gold in the world and
Yep.
people were actively mining it at X rate and the 17th ounce was just pulled from the earth? And oh, let's not forget, like 3 ounces were like flushed down the toilet, never to be found again.
Yep.
So technically there's only 19 or 18 ounces of gold and we just mined the 17th one. Like, what would that do to the gold price? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So there, and again, everybody has an opinion, right? Like you on one side of the market, you have people that are like Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan. He's the incumbent. He's the guy that has the most to lose by Bitcoin succeeding. So he's out there going, Bitcoin's a fraud. This is going to end badly. Everybody's going to lose their money. And then on the kind of the other extreme, you have guys like Max Kaiser, who I think is really cool and hilarious, and I respect him. But he's the extreme bull scenario where he's like, I'm not selling until like what 500,000 or 1 million, and that's cool.
is this the guy that said he was going to cut his balls off or something if it doesn't get
No,
to like 1 million?
that's
Do you know who that
McAfee,
is?
John McAfee. Yes, I know who that is.
Is that what he said, or did he say he was going to cut his thing off?
He goes, and if you have any children in the room, I'm going to try to edit this. He said, the tweet's out there. You can find it if you just Google it. But he's
No,
like,
he even reaffirmed it. He's like, and I'm
he
game's
doubled it.
still on.
He doubled it. At first, I think it was like, if Bitcoin doesn't hit 500,000 in 2018 or something, I'm gonna eat my own, thing. And then now it's like 1 million. So I don't know. So you have it's funny because you have all these opinions, right? Everybody has an opinion about the market. That's why it's so volatile. Human nature is the reason this stuff is going up and down, right? And then so Max Kaiser, what he does is he shows the price of Bitcoin inverted. So it's like the value of the US dollar compared to Bitcoin. and he's showing, the US dollar going down parabolic compared to the price of Bitcoin. Could that happen where, obviously there's this whole economic narrative that, we printed $4 trillion of, after the financial crisis, the US government is in debt and blah, 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 right? There's a whole narrative that goes along with that. And if that plays out, if the economy goes to shit and if the dollar blows up and implodes and we have hyperinflation, I think where prior generations went to gold, I think our generation, millennials and whatever, are in crypto. Like that's our gold.
It makes sense. I mean, it's something we can trust, right? It's math.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the effect that net neutrality might have on Bitcoin when it gets passed next week, if it does get passed?
I don't know. That's a good question. So I don't know if they can throttle the crypto network or block the crypto network. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody in the chat that understands how that works more than me. But I'm actually, so when it comes to net neutrality, like I tend to have like libertarian views, right? Like less government, don't tread on me. Like I'm not an extreme like anarcho-capitalist or anything like that, but I tend to think that less regulation is better. But when it comes to net neutrality, it's kind of like a two-tiered thing where you have two regulations in place. You have net neutrality, which keeps these big ass companies in check because they have a monopoly, right? Like you and I can't just start an ISP and try to go into a town and compete and say, oh, AT&T screwing you over, Comcast is screwing you over. Let's start our own internet service, right? Like, so getting rid of net neutrality, but keeping those monopolies in place, I think does nothing good for anybody except those big incumbents. So it's like, if you're going to get rid of the net neutrality, free up the free market, like let people compete. Like I can't even get Google Fiber here because they're blocked out by AT&T and Time Warner.
Yeah, it's ridiculous the level of stuff that just the way these deals work and how they affect us on our day-to-day life. But yeah, I don't really think you can what can you do? How could the government stop Bitcoin? Is it possible?
No, unless you shut down electricity and the internet, you can't stop the Bitcoin protocol.
Could they do it by buying large amounts of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean they could, they could buy up all the supply they could and then dump it. Governments can do one of three things. They're either going to take the stance of China or Russia or one of these repressive regimes and say, we ban Bitcoin. If you get caught using Bitcoin, you go to jail or we're going to shoot you in the face, right? That's one thing. I think the US is headed towards the middle ground, which is, okay, we don't understand it, but we're going to regulate it and we're going to tax it. That at least so far, what I can tell is what's happening. They're taxing it, they're regulating it, they're actually letting it trade. So I'm actually kind of proud of America in that sense that they're not just being stupid and saying, hey, if you get caught using or transacting in Bitcoin, we're going to throw you in jail. But I do think next year is going to be the year of heavy regulations because there are so many scams like BitConnect that are going to cause a lot of people a lot of pain. And then you have kind of the third option, which is where I think Switzerland is kind of going, where they're more laissez-faire, where they're just kind of like free market and like let it play out with less regulation. But no government can stop Bitcoin. It's immutable.
Yeah, it's kind of I recently realized that I know more about Bitcoin than I thought I did because I'm quite familiar with BitTorrents and trading files on the BitTorrent network. I think we're having some troubles with your audio glitching out. Are you hearing it, Chris, or no?
Yeah, you sound fine to me. Can you guys hear me?
Your audio, I believe, sounds glitched out. Is it me or is it just him, guys? The voice is getting cryptoed.
Testing. The NSA is trying to shut us down.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if someone's using internet in your spot or not. But what I was realizing is that they can try and they can if you don't know what BitTorrent is, it's like mostly used for downloading illegal files, but it also happens to be just the greatest way to transfer files and to store files decentralized on other people's computers, and everyone holds little pieces of it, and everyone shares pieces, and they come together to form like Voltron, and that's how you can watch whatever thing that you're looking for, not necessarily illegal or whatever, but they can shut down the websites in the different countries where the servers are that store the indexes that tell you how to, the keys to start downloading the files, which just point to all the other people that are actually currently sending those files that you can get pieces from or whatever. But they can never stop the actual network because it's peer-to-peer. It's one person to the next person, and as long as you know who those people are, you can get those files from them, which is kind of like Bitcoin or blockchain technology, which is decentralized and peer-to-peer, except for obviously you need to have an index to know what these files are. Well, with blockchain, you're generally doing one thing per each different blockchain. It's built for a specific purpose, so it's not like you're looking for any kind of index. So really, they can't shut it down. Like for as far as we know, in the future, we'll all, let's say 5 years from now, phone technology is like through the roof, and everybody's phone is just mining cryptocurrency in the background and making a little bit of money for you and running the entire, like 5 years from now, mining could be obsolete because we're all just doing it on our phones, and you would never know, you could never stop it, like phone to phone over Bluetooth. Like it's really unstoppable once you think about it like that. So yeah, like what you said is basically if they shut down the electricity or they manipulate it somehow by moving large amounts, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, exactly. Is my audio better, guys? I moved my phone. I'm wondering if that was it.
No, it sounds worse. It's actually super robotic.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe you can switch your microphone off and turn it back on or something.
Yeah, let's try that. Give me one sec.
Thanks for joining us so far, guys, for the show. We are 1 hour and 22 minutes into the show. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I appreciate you. Make sure you head over to the iTunes store and give us a 5-star review, or maybe you hate me and you want to give me a 1-star review. Either way, it's all good. Some stars is better than no stars, and I appreciate you. Also, smash the like button if you haven't considered doing that. It'd be great.
How is this mic working?
Yeah, it sounds much better.
Does it? Okay, cool.
Well, compared to you were sounding like that sound that's in the Matrix, like when the liquid overtakes his body and goes down his throat.
How long was that happening?
Not too long, maybe for a couple minutes.
Okay.
It happened a little bit earlier too, and then it stopped.
Weird, man. I don't know what that was. Yeah, it's
Someone
the NSA trying to shut us down.
If you were in a well, it's the feds. It's the NSA. Yeah. So what happened with Litecoin today? Did it took a big run today?
Yeah, it's up. I think. Let me see. Up like 100% in the past couple of days. See, it was at 100 a couple of days ago, and then yeah, literally it was at 100, and then right now it's sitting at 2.25.
What is some of the best ways people can stay updated on cryptocurrency? Like, is there a website that's like the trusted source that, like, if you want technology news, you go to TechCrunch and you read TechCrunch every day, is there a Crypto Crunch, something like that?
Yeah, coindesk.com.
And so you probably read that every day.
Yeah. So CoinDesk is a good one. 99bitcoins.com. My buddy Ophir runs that one. Yeah, CoinDesk is pretty much the main one. And then let me see. So I use a service called Feedly. It's kind of like you remember the old school like RSS feeders or RSS readers. Yeah, Feedly is pretty cool. It just kind of aggregates, and so I use that. But yeah, CoinDesk is pretty much the main hub for that type of stuff.
What would you say? Great. What would you say is the main reason why did Litecoin jump up so much recently? I mean, Bitcoin didn't rise up 100% from the futures.
Yeah, I haven't checked if there was any updates to the protocol or anything like that. I think they got a lot of press recently. Let me see if there's anything
I mean, if,
circulating
if
here.
Bitcoin gets pressed, Litecoin basically gets pressed too, right? And Ethereum, because when I went on Coinbase, there's only what, three types of currency you can buy on Coinbase, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, typically we see this like this phase where Bitcoin will pump, meaning it'll go up a bunch and it'll get a bunch of press. And then when people sell or whenever they look at Bitcoin and they're like, oh, I've doubled my Bitcoin, then typically what they do is they go, well, do I want to sell that back into dollars or euros or yen or yuan or something? Or do I want to find a cheaper cryptocurrency? And so you kind of get this like, for lack of a better term, trickle down effect where you get like liquidity that comes into Bitcoin and then it flows into other cryptocurrencies. That's why, like in the spring of this year, we saw a huge altcoin bubble, and it was a true bubble. It was like when Bitcoin's price started going up, you saw as soon as Bitcoin would go down, a lot of that liquidity was flowing right back into altcoins.
So does the cryptocurrency market kind of resemble Forex market? It would seem to me that, what you just explained to me sounds just like trading different kinds of currency, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it literally is that. It is, if you, so Forex is foreign exchange, but it's fiat currency. It's US dollar versus Canadian dollar or euro versus the Aussie dollar, right? Those are fiat currencies. This is a whole new type of asset. But yeah, you could look at it like that, like international currency trading.
right. Cryptocurrency is so interesting to me because, well, for a ton of different reasons. Obviously, there's less people involved. It's more trustworthy. You can, no one can stop you from transporting it across borders. It basically, it almost like makes countries not necessary. Like
Yeah.
I feel like, there might be a war over cryptocurrency in the future because it's going to piss off a lot of governments, and some of them aren't
Yeah.
going to go down so easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Bitcoin has not had an easy adoption, right? Like for anybody that's watching that was around in 2014, like 2014 was a tough year. Like if you just Google like Bitcoin obituaries, Bitcoin has died over 200 times, right? There's a lot of people that want to see crypto fail. Big governments. There's a lot of these incumbent powers that they just hate Bitcoin, and the repressive governments. I'm afraid for people in countries that have repressive governments because they can't stop Bitcoin, but they'll punish their citizens for using it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, a good case of use for cryptocurrency is, and a lot of people, just think about it in America as, oh, we're just speculating and long-term investing. We're not really using it to, and I hear people say it actually all the time. You can't even use Bitcoin, like what are you going to spend it on? But unless I'm mistaken, there's a few different Bitcoin debit cards, I believe,
Yep.
where you can actually just use Bitcoin anywhere that accepts a Visa card or something like that, right?
Yep, absolutely. And people are buying real estate with Bitcoin now. People are you can buy literally anything
There's
with
probably some
cryptocurrency.
interesting tax stuff going on with Bitcoin because you're like, oh no, technically I didn't receive any money.
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
the tax thing is a whole other whew, it's
yeah,
a
I'm
whole
waiting
other
for
pit.
the cryptocurrency to come out, the coin that's based around taxation.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. But one thing I was thinking about was like, and we were touched on it earlier when you were talking about corruption in the real estate market or for the public titles and records market or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, is what about all these countries, these third world countries, and their currency is literally just worthless? They call it toilet paper currency because it's more valuable for them to literally wipe their butt with their currency than it is for them to try and buy stuff with it, or to burn it is more valuable for and use it to cook. That's more valuable to them because it's literally like, here, I'm going to buy an apple. Let me give you a stack of paper this big. It's like
Mhm.
the TPS report of paper, to get an apple. And that's obviously due to corruption in their government and inflation through printing so much damn currency. And Bitcoin can obviously all currencies can have inflation happen to them, but not through more amounts of the money being created. So, which is, I think, probably the main source of inflation for all money.
Yeah.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you can buy and sell Bitcoin using SMS text messages, right?
Interesting.
I think
I
there's
haven't done that, but
I
yeah,
think you can do
there's
it.
probably
So I'm just curious if it's going on or not in third world countries. Company, people using cryptocurrency for an economy, because that's where all our old Nokia phones are going. The ones you used to play Snake on.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Those
man. In Venezuela, case in point, I mean, this is like the most extreme example of hyperinflation that we have right now. Like, people are literally eating zoo animals down there. It's gotten so bad. They're starving. They don't have access to basic medical services anymore.
because
Like,
they
if
have some socialism stuff going on, right?
oh yeah, man, it's really bad. But I think it was like a couple weeks ago or
People
recently.
are making like $50 a month USD, and that's like a good salary.
Oh man, I think it's closer to 4. Yeah, it's crazy. So last year, like I was really interested in what was happening in Venezuela. So I flew down to Panama City, which uses the U.S. dollar, which I think is interesting. And I was at like this sports bar with my friend, and we were meeting up actually with several of the top guys that are in on the Dash project, which when we were talking to them, I think the price was like $7 a coin or something, and now it's in the $700 range. It's just nuts what they've been able to do. But anyway, we were talking, and this waitress came up, and she was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And my friend that lived there, he recognized, like, "Hey, are you from Venezuela?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm here working because I can't make shit back home, and my mom is sick, and so every dollar that I get, I send home, but I lose a big chunk of it because she used, I don't think it was Western Union, but it was a service like Western Union, and they
Right.
took a massive chunk, and then she lost a shit ton of value when they did the currency conversion." And so we explained to her like how she could actually preserve her capital by using Bitcoin. And my friend has a service that they do that. So there's a lot of people working in other Central and South American countries sending money home. And Bitcoin has just exploded in popularity there. We actually have several people in our group that a couple years ago took all of their money out of bolivars and put it into Bitcoin. And now they're able not only to support themselves for the rest of their lives, but like their whole community. They're actually able to afford to feed people. So this is having a very real world effect on people that we in the States don't even really see on a daily basis.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I believe I mean, I guess I live in California, so I'm more in touch with this there's a large Hispanic population here, and there's a lot of migrant workers that, they just tough it out here, but they send all the money back to Mexico, and
Mm-hmm.
they have like a large hustle going on. They'll come into the country, they'll have like um they'll have like their friends at home building their house while they're working here and sending all the money back there building their house. And when their house is built, they're just like, all right, cool, I'm going back to Mexico.
Yeah.
And but obviously I'm assuming if they were sending the money through legal channels, they were losing some money with conversion and fees, and they could be saving a good amount with Bitcoin. And that's not even considering countries whose money is just completely unstable, right? So I don't know enough about this on hand, but I believe maybe Greece or some other countries where I believe I read an article about this last year where like their money was just varying, while you like literally had to wake up and read the news to see what the current value of the money was, because the price of an apple could be like 1 unit today and tomorrow it could be 6 units. And so,
Yeah.
so when it was low, people were buying up more stuff, but obviously you need like food and that goes bad. And so, and then, your country can make it illegal for you to import money or export money and stuff like that. So people were holding their money in Bitcoin using, brain wallets, just
Mm-hmm.
memorizing the password or the keys or whatever, and then converting it as needed on a use basis to the local currency, which was saving them a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of use cases like that around the world, and one that I think is pretty cool. So, you know, Burma, formerly Burma, now Myanmar, used to be the richest country in Asia. Now it's the poorest. And it's because the government has just been raping their citizens for decades. And um, the government there is so repressive that basically people just have to operate in this local economy. There's no like credit cards or merchant accounts like we know. And so when I went there, my friend actually runs a business incubator in Myanmar, and he helps a lot of like micro businesses with like micro loans, you know, like food stalls and stuff like that. And I showed some of these young guys that were like super hungry and motivated, you know, real hustlers that wanted to learn coding. And I showed them how they could accept payment in Bitcoin and like store their wealth digitally. And like it just, it changes lives, like completely flips. They thought they were going to be a farmer or a fisherman, and now you have guys making like what like high level executives in Myanmar make just coding and getting paid only like a few $100 a week, but to them in Myanmar that's like big money.
Right. It goes Bitcoin feels so right to me, and cryptocurrencies in general. It goes along with everything that is good about what's happening in the world of technology, like evolving and changing everything. The internet came, look how much stuff that changed with communication. Now look, anything, if you do any type of thing that can be done on a computer, you can offer your skills to people that live in an economy that's doing much better than your own, and
Yep.
work for them, and then work off of their economy. Which, even though, for example, I have a video editor in the Philippines, and I pay him $4 an hour, which is a great deal for me because I couldn't get anyone in America to edit video for less than $20 an hour, and they probably would be pretty amateur at that. But yet he's making a high pay rate for the Philippines, you know. And I have designers actually in Venezuela, like we were just talking about, that make shirts for me for design, and I pay them in one day more than they make for in 30 days in their office job sometimes.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
and I'm still excited about the cheapness that I'm getting, you know,
Yeah.
to
It's
the
a good
point where I,
arbitrage, dude. It's
right,
international
exactly.
arbitrage. Yeah.
And it's all thanks to the new technology of the internet and the communication. And it's just like, so I try to think about how those things changed what we used to know, and then apply that same type of logic and thinking to Bitcoin, and like what could it change, and like how do we use it now, and how can it change. And a few of those things that we're talking about are like so right in line with that, you know, where if you don't regularly send money to another country, you don't know about it so much, you know. If your
Hmm.
country has a stable economy, you don't know about your money changing so quick like that, you know. No one in America, like, you know, you don't just go to the grocery store on Monday and then go on Tuesday or Wednesday and get a lot less for your same amount of money. You generally know what a cart full of groceries costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And like our generation, you know, we've been living through what economists call like the great moderation, right? Like we haven't seen hyperinflation in America. Like back in the 70s, they were battling that, right? And like I think if the US does go into a scenario where like inflation kicks in, like people are going to rush even more into cryptocurrencies and start maybe even pricing things in Bitcoin. Like right now, the US dollar is the unit of account, right? Like when we talk about like, how much is that shirt? Oh, it's $20, right? Like, well, we're going to start talking in terms of Satoshis, like how many bits of Bitcoin or how, you know, how many Satoshis is that, right? I think that's the future is, you know, we're not going to talk about things in euro or yen or dollars. It's going to be some international currency.
Right. And it's too good. It just seems like Bitcoin could be the thing that could bring us closer to a unified world economy. Like obviously we have global economy with internet, but there's a lot of stipulations and hoops and fences to jump
Mm-hmm.
through because we have a global economy, but we're all still using different value chips. Um, and Bitcoin exceeds country bear. You know, it could seem like it could unify the globe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, obviously a lot of people don't want that, but and a lot of people are going to go out of business. You know, you think about banks right now and stuff like that. You're like, well, you guys better hurry up and start developing, you know, technology based on, you know, like instead of fighting it, where's the bank that's going to come out with, yeah, we're offering you free hardware wallets for new account signups, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like even if a bank just like promoted Bitcoin to the point where it wouldn't cost them anything. They would just have to say, we support Bitcoin. Like, we're not going to ban your account for buying Bitcoin. Like someone in the chat said, Chase shut them down for buying Bitcoin. It would cost a bank nothing to say that, and they would gain a lot of customers off that. And if you just figure it like anything else, you can't stop them. What's going to come? You know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yep.
So why not make money off their USD transactions as a normal bank and get a lot more customers because you're supporting the future of what's happening, and then try and get creative and figure out how you're going to make money off of the Bitcoin thing. Maybe you can sell courses on Bitcoin, or sell, you know, hardware wallets branded for your bank, or I don't know, maybe you can have it install a Bitcoin ATM in your bank and make transaction fees on that, you know, like.
Yeah, it's crazy because
beat them.
For like all of modern humanity, we've thought of banks as like the place to go to store your money, but now we have to flip that on its head and realize that we are our own bank. Like, I own several banks. I look at each one of my hardware wallets as its own bank. I can send an unlimited amount of money around the world to anybody I want pretty quickly for next to free. Do you know how fucking liberating that is? That is awesome, man. And like, and then whenever I go to buy a house for a real estate flip or something, I have to go to my bank, ask for permission by filling out all these forms, wait 3 to 5 days for the money to clear, pay a $30 or $50 obnoxious, pointless fee. You know, that system's dying.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, I don't even have a lot of money, but if you go to the bank, and you most of the time go to the bank and ask, you know, can I have 10,000 in cash right now? It's likely that they're not going to just give it to you right then and there. They might want you to fill out a form, and maybe they'll give you 10, but try 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw a thing where Grant Cardone pulled out $1 million at the bank. And they, you know, and he was just talking about, why are you asking me what I'm going to do with it? You know, like, why do I got to wait 5 days for it to come? Why do I got to order? You guys don't have my money? Like,
yeah.
Try, you know, they'll take all your money when you want to put it in, but all of a sudden they got all kinds of questions when you want to take it out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like you're required to answer those or anything. It's like, it's none of your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's going to be a big fight with taxes too. You know, the government wants to get their piece.
Right.
Yep.
Taxation without representation. I'm not about that, man. It's not good.
Me too, man.
I actually believe in some taxes, right? Like local taxes. You need to have roads. You need to maintain this public school system, or whatever these things that the public generally agrees on, or whatever. But there's just so much, like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm in the 30% tax bracket. I'm not rich. I'm in the 30% tax bracket.
Yeah.
And I live in California, so more than 30% of every dollar I make, like, that's profit to me, it's not me. It goes out, and that's insane.
Yeah. And no matter, you know, for anybody listening, like, no matter what your opinion is of Roger Ver and Bitcoin Cash, one thing that I think is cool that he's working on is they're actually trying to buy some land from a country and make their own sovereign nation that's purely based on libertarian principles, where there are no taxes. And whenever I hear that, I think of, okay, that's a cool idea. And then I start thinking, and I've actually like kept a list, like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So there's a lot of problems to solve, but I think it's a cool concept. And I think it's called Free Society Project or something. Yeah, freesociety.com. Yeah, if you go to freesociety.com, you can see what they're doing. I think they've raised 100 million or several hundred million. I think they're trying to raise it just 1 billion. And then they're going to purchase this plot of land from a government and just try to make that happen.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but I hope they'll be all right. Someone was asking, when cryptocurrency starts to decline, do you expect gold to make a bull run like you would expect in a declining Forex market?
So I don't think there's a direct inverse correlation with Bitcoin and gold. The answer is it depends on why the price of Bitcoin goes down. Like, I think that if it's just a normal pullback, like obviously price has been doing this, like it's going up so fast, it's basically bending backwards. When it comes down and does a retracement, which is just healthy, we've had, I believe, 7 pullbacks of over 30% this year alone. So think about that. Like it sounds easy to be like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's up 2000%, but can you hold through 30% pullbacks, 50% pullbacks? So when that happens, the money usually flows either back into fiat, like dollars or whatever the other currency is, or altcoins. I don't think a lot of people but I've done this. I've actually taken Bitcoin, and there's several like provenant metals, Amagi metals, I think is how you say it. You can actually buy gold with Bitcoin, and I've done that quite a bit this year just because I want to diversify some. But I don't think most people think like that, where they just
Like
go, oh,
locally, or they mail it to you?
sorry.
Like you locally purchased gold, or how does that work? They ship it to you?
Yeah, dude, you buy it on their website and they ship it to you and it shows up on your door.
Wow, how are those packages not disappearing?
Exactly. I haven't bought in big bulks. I just did like, a few ounces here and there to like test it, but it works.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever used a Bitcoin ATM?
Yeah, actually, I used the first one in America, which was here in Austin, Texas, and I don't think they're really keeping up with it anymore. There's a bar downtown called Handlebar, and it was like this big hoopla. They had this big media event, so I went down there and used it and like educated people on what Bitcoin was and stuff. That was, I think, 2014 or 15.
So a lot of people like to compare, especially traditional market traders, like to compare Bitcoin to the tulip mania. What are your thoughts on that? How does it differ? I mean, I briefly touched on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
look, tulip mania, it's a damn tulip. It was used for nothing except for like society, like status symbolism, and it was in a small area at the time.
Yeah. Look, this is what I study. This is what I geek out on is manias and bubbles and just the concept of money as a social construct. Like that's my, some people like cars, like some people like Lambos and shit. I just like to study money and manias and bubbles. Are we in a bubble? Yes, we are in a bubble. Does that mean Bitcoin's going to die and go away? No. But tulips are a flower. This is a financial revolution that is not only is it okay, so let me back up. You have the housing bubble, right? The early 2000s, prices went crazy, then they crashed. That was driven by easy debt. I was in the mortgage business back then. Like I understood what was happening. Um, excuse me. Um, the stock market bubble of 2000, then 2007 and 8, right? Those were American economic things. This is a global thing. This is really the first like global market like this that we've seen. So it's unprecedented. With that said, kind of the cliche is like, this time is different. No, this time isn't different because speculation is outpacing utility, which is a fancy way of saying people are buying to get rich, thinking there's a greater fool that's going to buy at a higher price. And when you run out of greater fools, the only way price can go is down. And so what we need is we need a correction. We need it to stabilize. We need people to actually start using crypto and understanding what it is. We need a lot of these projects that have raised billions of dollars this year to actually put out products like we've been talking about with browsers and decentralized social media platforms and that stuff. We need that stuff to come to fruition over the next 12 to 24 months. And then I think we'll see another big bull cycle.
It
That's my
makes a lot of
projection.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man. It sounds spot on because all of these things, you think about how, okay, social media is great, YouTube's great, Google is great, all of these other things that could be decentralized but aren't. And you think about, why you would want them decentralized. Like me, I buy stuff online. So when I am shopping online to buy stuff or to compare prices or whatever, I'm going to use an incognito browser because I want to make sure that I'm seeing the stuff exactly how it is on the internet and not in some tailored way that's being delivered to me because they cookied me or they're tracking me of some way. And, I want to see everything, not just what they think I want to see, right? And so that's the bad side of it's not being decentralized. So yeah, search engines, browsers, all of the whole entire internet. Think about how amazing the internet is because of what it does, like connecting everybody. But then look at all these middlemen that are making all of these monies in between me and you. Even though we're connected, they're making money in between me and you, and they're distorting the picture that each one of us sees of each other or of opportunities online and then making money off of it that way. They're controlling what videos pop up when I search on YouTube based on whatever they think is going to make them more money, not what I think is going to bring me the best viewing experience. They're controlling what search results pop up. And almost everyone's gotten in trouble for controlling these type of things. The browsers are modifying the web pages to deliver more ads to you based on the websites and so on and so on. So all of these things are great, but they could be better if we the people were controlling them. And that's essentially what blockchain technology does in all of the different applications. It's math based. Anybody that has time to figure out blockchain can sit there and nerd out on it and go, hey guys, look at this. They're getting over on us. And you can go, what? And they can point at it and everybody can go, yep, they are. Let's switch to something else.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, we're screwed. We can't. What are you going to do? Are you going to Yahoo something? No, you're not. Alta Vista? No, you're not. You're going to Google it regardless.
And here's something to think about too, is like, I think financial services, the industry of financial services, is something like 7 or 8% of GDP, meaning like 7 or 8% of the shit that America makes or does is financial services, meaning middlemen stuff like banks, mortgage brokers, title insurance. Like, dude, buying a house, I don't know if you own a house, but like buying a house and going through that process of title insurance and all that is so cumbersome and so expensive. That stuff is just ready to be disrupted, man.
Right. And we already know that when you disrupt stuff and make it easier, make it take less time, make it cost less money, all of those things are the properties of winning new companies that are internet based. Airbnb, Uber, any of these type of things that are they're taking over the what was existing before because they possess those properties, right? So blockchain technology is ripe to improve our experience with all of the things that it can be applied to make it more honest, to remove the middleman, and just make it more I can't even put it in words, but like make it more truth, like
Democratize it.
more legit.
Yeah. Give the power back to the users, right? The more you can decentralize something, the better the world is, period. Like it's the natural law of things, I think.
Awesome. So what do you think are some things people can do to protect their self if they are buying and selling Bitcoin? Because obviously the more you have, the higher likeliness you are to be targeted by hackers, or maybe even people trying to kick your door in looking for your hardware wallet, which I'm assuming is pointless because you probably need a password to open the hardware wallet, right?
Yeah, I mean, the most basic stuff is obviously get a hardware wallet, store it somewhere like a bank deposit box or something like that.
Do you back up your hardware wallet also? So, because I know I have thumb drives that you plug them in a year later and they're bummed out. So
well, that's what your seed code is for. That's what the 12 words. If you can just memorize that, that's really what you need.
So probably maybe put those in your security deposit box also, as well as have a hardware wallet.
Yeah, have a hardware wallet. You can keep some money on exchanges that you need to buy and sell, but and it is a little bit cumbersome, right? Like sending money to and from exchanges and try to manage that. There is like a little bit of work that's involved with that, but it's worth it. Use two-factor authentication on all your accounts. Use a VPN. Use a password generator. Don't use the same password for everything. Make it at least like 16 to 20 characters. Um, yeah, those are kind of the basics.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I think we just covered like so much stuff.
Yeah, dude, we've been going for a
Um,
while.
yeah, we're about 2 hours here, which is generally how we wrap it up around 2 hours.
Cool.
Any newcomers on the game, like any coins most people haven't heard of that you're keeping an eye on?
Oh man, I've kind of had altcoin fatigue for a while. Like this year has been so crazy, and in the spring and the summer, we were just really diving in, just trying to find opportunity, find opportunity. And so the past couple of weeks, in addition to being sick, I've just been taking some time, man. Just been really, reevaluating and repositioning some things. And so the ones that I'm looking at aren't cheap right now, but I think there's upside potential like Ripple, Ethereum. Um, and I've been over 90% positioned in Bitcoin over the past several months. So I would just encourage anybody that's new, like if you're like looking at these prices going, whoa, what do I do? Do I buy up here at 17,000? If you don't own any Bitcoin, just buy some Bitcoin and don't think about the price. It could be $5 worth. Like just do something. Don't go all in up here. And obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't advice, but like just get involved. Start learning because this is obviously not going anywhere. And I think you'll have fun with it. I mean, it's definitely to me because I'm like a finance geek. Like I love this stuff, but I think when when you truly understand what this is doing for the global economy, it's probably the most interesting thing aside from like CRISPR DNA sequencing that I can think of that's happening right now. So
Yeah, it's as important as the internet itself, if from my perspective, as far as things that I've seen happen, you know.
yeah.
I was like 12 years old and I'm in like on a dial-up modem in an AOL chat room, you know, like on Windows 3.1 or something. And then we have real internet, which is what it is now is insane compared to what it was and what it's used for, you know. So,
Yep.
but when I think of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency in general, I get the same feeling.
Hmm.
And I'm not the best like with risk management or whatever, but generally throughout time, my gut instincts have been pretty right, and I have like a really solid gut feeling about Bitcoin long term.
Hmm. Yeah, just when it comes to that, think about what the mass majority of people are doing and look for reasons why they're wrong. Like 2015, I was getting berated, like for real. Like a lot of my friends that were on Wall Street and stuff, a lot of the people that I knew from my day trading days in the futures market, they're like, Chris, you're an absolute moron. Why are you giving up a real market for this stuff? And not to brag, but I've outperformed pretty much every other trader and investor I know. And that's because not because I'm a genius, it's just because I'm pretty good at seeing, like having a conviction in something and putting the money on the line, taking action. So don't follow the herd, I guess is my biggest piece of advice is don't just blindly buy or don't look for some guru on CNBC or even me to make your decisions. Like do your own due diligence, put in the work, just like you teach, man. Hustle, man. Put in the fucking work, and it's gonna pay off for you.
That's awesome, man. So, if there was anything, we're gonna close it up here with a couple questions. If there was one tip you could have gave yourself, like from the first day you purchased Bitcoin, what would you give yourself? What tip would you give yourself? I mean, aside from buy a crap load more and hold it forever.
um, a tip that I would give myself if I was just getting into crypto.
Yeah, from that something you know now that you wish you knew when you first started.
Oh, good question, man.
Aside from the obvious, which is
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
going to
like
be
go
17,000 in a year.
go all in. Um, Man, that's a really good question. I think it would be um just stick to your convictions. Like um I sold probably in 2016, I sold some too early just because I didn't know that this year would do what it did. I knew that the vast majority of people were going to catch on, but I didn't know it was going to turn into a mania. So it would probably be kind of what I said, like stick to your convictions and like don't let anybody shake you out of those.
Good. That's a good one. It's very important.
Yeah.
Another thing we like to do is give the viewer a question for the audience. So you can ask the audience a question, and I'll also put it in the description. And then people who watch it later will reply in the comments with the answer to the question. And if you like, you can get on there and interact with them as well. So
Cool.
it could be any question. It could be based around cryptocurrency or whatever you're doing, anything. Like, what is your question for the Reezy Ninja audience?
That's a good question to ask a question. So the kind of the fun one is like, what is your Bitcoin price prediction for the end of 2018? And then maybe around this time next year, we can do another show and see
That's
where we're
awesome.
at.
That's a fun question.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Awesome. Another one that I like to ask all the viewers is, who would you like to see me interview? And that maybe you could help me link up with. Who is someone that you would be able to get value from me interviewing that you
Hmm.
recommend me having on the show?
So in the crypto space,
Yeah, whatever you like.
have you had Roots on yet?
I did do Ryan Roots.
You did? You had him on already? Yeah, Ryan's my
Yeah.
boy. Let's see. How about this? I'll think about that and I'll send you some people, some influencers, or some people that are maybe working on some cool projects, and I'll connect you guys.
Yeah, that sounds great. Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
guys, it's about time to wrap up the show. We got a thing we say around here. I doubt you follow me enough to know it, but what we say is, if you ain't flipping, you slipping.
I love it.
You got to stay flipping. Thanks for joining us on the show, Chris. Thank you very much for all of you that are watching this. Please smash the like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel, what are you doing with your life? Like, for real, I thought you loved me. And so subscribe. That's what that means. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks, Reezy. Appreciate it, man.